welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys the pros and the cons of doing digital note-taking versus paper note-taking. So on this channel over the last few months, you've been seeing that I've been sharing my digital notes from my undergraduate degree in sport and exercise science. I will link that playlist above and in the description below for you guys to check out. But it wasn't always the case in terms of me using digital notes. At university, I was actually using more paper notes. I would take my laptop to lectures to write things really quickly, but I would come back and handwrite everything after. So I've also got a link down below before I forget with this website where you can do a little quiz to find out which is best suited to your needs, whether it be digital or paper. But I'm just going to get started. So in terms of digital notes, we're going to start with the pros, I believe. Okay, so the pros of digital note taking is that one, you can have them anywhere, like you can access them anywhere. That's such a perk. Honestly, you don't necessarily, obviously you don't get that with paper. You can't, if you lose it, you leave the piece of paper at home, you can't get it back somewhere else. So little things like that. Another thing I really like about digital note taking compared to paper note taking is that you have the Control F function. So I don't know about you guys, but I use Control F all the time. It saves me so much time. I'm not really a big reader, so it helps a lot in that sense. Another thing I like about digital note taking is that you don't only have the option to type, but you also have the option to handwrite notes if you have a stylus. And I think that's such a good thing. It puts you in the best of both worlds in that way. And another thing I really like about digital note taking, I would say, is the aspect that you can have other things in it, so such as like a PDF link to it or hyperlink within your notes, and it saves so much time compared to if it was just paper and you'd have to print these and so on and so forth. And onto the cons of digital note taking, I would say the first con has to be the eye strain. So when I was filming my study with me's, I'd often find that I'd either have to take breaks or set a certain time to do them because it's just a lot. Like when I'm handwriting my notes on paper, I could work all the way into the night. But when you've got the glare of the computer and all that, it's just quite a bit. I personally have glasses for the computer, but it's just something to bear in mind. Another con of digital note taking is that I think us as people depend too much on technology, and just like there is with paper, there's a risk of losing it if you don't have it stored in one, multiple locations, or two, if something happens with Wi-Fi or your device crashes. Something like that I think is always to bear in mind when it comes to digital note taking. Another thing I personally don't like about digital note taking is the lack of retention that you have, in terms of the fact that unless you're handwriting your notes digitally, I don't believe you're really gaining much. I'm like, yeah, you're getting down all the notes you need, but are you really remembering them? Because I personally know that when I typed my notes, I never really went back and read over them. And yeah, that's an issue in my part. That was all the pros and the cons of digital note taking. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe down below, because hey, you got a lot going on in this channel, so check it out after this video. On to paper note taking. The pros I have for paper note taking has to be, one, the feeling of actually writing on paper. Nothing compares to it. Even though yes, you have those iPad sheets where it's called Paperlike or something like that, which is meant to make it feel as if you're writing on paper, I feel like the feeling of paper alone you can't compare. Another pro about paper note taking compared to digital note taking is the fact that like while you're writing, you're memorizing what you're doing. I feel like you're more engaged in the moment compared to if you're just typing, because you're just putting stuff away into your Word document or wherever you store your stuff. I personally found when I was typing, I would just type things and never read them again later, which is obviously an issue on my part, but at the same time I feel like it's something to bear in mind. And the last one I have for the pros has to be the fact that it's like pretty adaptable, in terms of, I'm not saying that typed notes aren't adaptable, because I think if you're using the handwritten option when it comes to digital notes, you have the best of both worlds. But I think if you're not, the perks of having paper is like, if you're doing maths or a science or an English degree, whatever you're doing, it works for each subject. In terms of typing equations in like maths or science or whatever, isn't the same as writing them out. It's just sometimes you can't find the right sometimes you can't find the right symbol or like the right thing that you need for that specific You know what I mean? Like the diagrams and stuff like that as well. So I think paper helps on that part. Now for the cons of paper, I would say the con of paper is obviously you've got a lot of loose papers lying around. It's quite a bit and it can be very like clutter up your bag kind of thing. It can weigh your bag down. It can just be a lot compared to if you're doing digital notes, you just got your iPad or your laptop in your bag. It's, you know, it's easier because if you're a person that has different notebooks for each subject, then it could weigh down. Another thing is risk of losing notes. Now the same thing with digital notes, you could lose your notes, but with paper as well, because you have that one source, if you lose it, that's it. Or if it's lost by things that you can't control in terms of the rain, if the rain soaks your bag and you haven't got your notes in a folder or something, boom, no more notes. So that's another thing to bear in mind. But I believe those are all the pros and cons I have for digital note taking versus paper note taking.